Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're diving straight into the ultimate parent's guide to protein for growing kids. We're going to see why protein is basically the master builder for your child's brain and body, and how you can fuel their incredible potential without having to fight those exhausting daily mealtime battles. Let's just confront that universal parental fear right off the bat, shall we? You know the feeling. Staring at a kid who apparently survives entirely on chicken nuggets and crackers, wondering, is this enough to build a healthy human? Well, instead of stressing out, we're going to look at the actual science of what protein does inside them. And spoiler alert, it's doing a lot more heavy lifting behind the scenes than just building biceps. Okay, so to really understand protein, we have to talk about its core components, amino acids. Think of these as the literal architectural blueprints and the bricks that construct everything in your child's body. We're talking skeletal muscle, hair, skin, blood, and yes, even the blood-brain barrier. Now, the body is pretty incredible at recycling these, but your kid still needs a steady supply from their diet to keep that massive construction project moving forward. And it's not just about physical muscle. These amino acids are the actual fuel for their developing central nervous system. Which brings us to Section 1, the brain's master builder. See, during pediatric development, the brain has some extremely precise nutritional demands, and amino acids are right at the top of that list. They act as direct precursors for vital neurotransmitters. Those are the chemicals that let brain cells talk to each other. It's fascinating, really. Take the amino acid tryptophan. It's the precursor for serotonin, which directly dictates whether your kid can actually sleep peacefully. On the flip side, you've got tyrosine, which builds norepinephrine to keep them alert and focused. So the protein they eat is quite literally shaping how their brain functions and regulates their mood. And the stakes during these early developmental years are incredibly high. Studies actually show that if a child experiences an acute shortage of these essential amino acids early on, the consequences can be severe. We're talking about localized cell death in the cortex, leading to things like microcephaly, which is a reduction in brain size, and long-term behavioral changes that can actually mimic autism spectrum disorder. It's just a powerful reminder of why getting this foundational nutrition right is absolutely crucial. So, moving on to Section 2, how much is enough? Now, given those high stakes, you're probably panicking a bit about exactly how much chicken or beef your toddler needs to choke down every single day. But take a deep breath, get ready for a massive sigh of relief. When you actually look at the dietary reference intakes by age group, the targets are surprisingly low. A toddler between 1 and 3, they only need 13 grams a day. Kids 4 to 8 need 19 grams. It doesn't even really jump up until they hit their teenage years, where they require between 46 and 52 grams depending on their gender. Let's just park on that for a second. A toddler, 1 to 3 years old, needs just 13 grams of protein for the entire day. That's about half an ounce of protein per pound of body weight. When you visualize 13 grams, it is practically nothing compared to the massive portion sizes we're used to serving up in Western diets. Let me show you exactly how easy this is. Every ounce of cow's milk has 1 gram of protein. So an 8-ounce cup of milk, that's 8 grams. Pair that with just a single egg, which clocks in around 6 grams, and boom, you have basically covered your toddler's entire daily requirement before they've even finished breakfast. See, the pressure is totally off. In fact, the data backs up just how unnecessary our collective parental anxiety really is here. Studies show a whopping 75% of kids in Western countries are already eating 2 to 3 times the protein they actually need. It's incredibly rare for a child in these environments to need an extra protein boost, unless there's a specific underlying medical condition at play. This takes us to Section 3, animal and plant sources. Because let's face it, the classic chicken nugget, beloved as it is far from your only option. We have a whole world of diverse, high-quality sources to choose from. Scientists evaluate protein using digestibility and amino acid scores. Sure, animal proteins like eggs and whey are considered complete proteins with perfect 1.00 scores, meaning they contain all the essential amino acids and are super easy to digest. But plant sources hold their own really, really well. Tofu scores a massive 0.95, and pea protein isolate hits 0.83. These are fantastic, high-quality options that easily support a growing body. Now, if you've got vegetarian or vegan kids, there's this brilliant little nutritional strategy called protein complementation. Most plant proteins are missing 1 or 2 essential amino acids, but if you pair them strategically, it's like a nutritional puzzle coming together perfectly. For example, legumes have high lysine but low methionine. Pair them with grains or nuts, which have the exact opposite profile, and you suddenly deliver a complete, perfect amino acid profile. Think classic combos like beans and rice, or a peanut butter sandwich on wheat bread. And you don't just have to take my word for it. Expert dietetic organizations, including the Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics, absolutely confirm that well-planned vegetarian and vegan diets perfectly support a child's healthy growth. The real key here is just ensuring they get a diverse mix of whole foods and enough total calories. Mostly because plant foods are packed with fiber, which can make kids feel full way before they've actually hit their energy requirements. Next up, Section 4, Fueling the Young Athlete. Let's pivot for a second. What if you don't have a toddler, but instead you're raising a highly active teen running drills on the soccer field every day after school? Well, that changes the math entirely. Youth athletes are the big exception to the low protein rule. They can require up to 1.5 grams of protein per kilogram of body weight to support muscle growth and prevent injuries. And it's not just about protein. They need massive energy support, sometimes upwards of 3,000 calories a day. Add in the need to heavily replenish hydration, since they can sweat out up to 2 liters an hour, and you quickly realize these teens need serious, nutrient-dense snacking strategies, especially for post-exercise recovery. Which brings us to Section 5, Strategies for Picky Eaters. All right, let's bring it back to the parents fighting the ultimate boss battle. The picky eater. You know, the kid who only wants beige foods and looks at anything textured like it's highly suspicious. Well, we've got some science-backed strategies for you, and this behavioral playbook is a total lifesaver. First off, abolish the clean plate club. Dietary coercion just induces stress, which actively reinforces food aversion. Second, rely on repeated low-stakes exposures. Clinical trials actually show it can take 8 to 15 neutral exposures to a new food before a kid will accept it. And finally, try flavor bridging. Serve unfamiliar proteins with familiar, beloved dipping sauces like ranch or barbecue to bridge that gap and increase their willingness to try a bite. You can also optimize the physical structure of the food itself. Young kids often reject meat simply because it causes oral fatigue. It's literally just too hard for them to chew. So try grilling or baking meats to keep them tender and cut them into tiny, manageable pieces. Also, respect their sensory boundaries. Use compartment plates to separate protein from other foods. It really helps avoid visual or tactile sensory contamination. And hey, don't be afraid to add playful garnishments, like a sprinkle of cheese or chia seeds, just to make it look like a fun magic treat. And finally, Section 6, Real Food Over Powders. Look, with all this talk of hitting requirements and navigating picky eaters, it is super tempting to just take the easy way out and mix a scoop of protein powder into their morning juice or oatmeal. But pediatricians strongly warn against this. Unless it's medically necessary and directed by a doctor for an absorption issue, supplements are generally a bad idea. As Dr. Sneef from the Cleveland Clinic points out, real food should be the first choice. Whole foods like meat, fish, dairy, and soy provide a complex host of essential nutrients like iron, zinc, and vitamins that isolated powders just simply cannot replicate. So now that you have the blueprint to this master builder, it's time to put it into action. Trust the surprisingly simple data. Take a deep breath and drop the mealtime stress. You don't need expensive powders, and you definitely don't need a daily fight over a chicken breast. Whether it's a glass of milk, a handful of almonds, or just some beans and rice, you have all the tools you need to empower your child's brain and body with real, balanced nutrition. So the only question left is, what small change will you make to their plate tomorrow to build a stronger future?